tell me this. If my daughter is applying for a job and she has the same credentials as the gentleman who's applying for the job, should the employer always choose the man? It's not relevant, you know, gender shouldn't be relevant, okay? So that's an example of relevancy, okay? And I gave you an extreme example because if you want to remember things, often you remember things with extreme kind of hyperbole kind of situations. Now, the third one people often forget too. Facts are important. Relevant facts are important, but enough facts. You can't just have one incident and saying, oh, now let's suppose you're making a judgment about a person, and this person has done something slightly uncomfortable for you one time, but you've known that person for 35 years or 40 years. That one incident should be taken as a fact, but think about the other 99 facts that you've observed with that relationship that possibly give that person more of a positive view. So not just one fact, but enough facts. And I don't know if anybody's got a degree or ever taken statistics. Putting it into a statistical, enough facts is a confidence level, okay? Really, really important. I mean, I would encourage you to remember these three things at the very least. It applies to decision making in general, critical thinking. If anybody's trying to manipulate you, go back to this and you will be less apt to be manipulated. Okay, so another one is IQ and EI. Anybody know what EI is? Emotional intelligence. Anybody ever taken a course on emotional intelligence? Yeah, lady back there, yeah. Interesting enough, again, those three gentlemen back there who have an IQ, is it all of you have an IQ of 250? Was it higher?
He said together.
Oh, together, if you had That's good. That's not genius, all right. Okay. I think genius is 145 or 150 or something like that. Now, IQ is very, very important, to make decisions, but it's less important in your success and the folks who've taken emotional intelligence than emotional intelligence, okay? And we'll touch on what emotional intelligence is later. So, one of the things that you need to think about is to know yourself. Okay, I'm not going to dwell on every line item here because we'll take a break. Let's see, we start at 8:30, so 9:30? Okay, let's try 9:30, okay, just to get me through some points here. So let's know yourself. So what kind of decision maker are you? Okay, let's take note. Now again, you don't have these slides, there's too many slides, and I don't know how many things we'll be able to cover, but let's figure out what kind of decision maker are you. First of all, a really important factor in decision making, and I wish that more people realize this, are your filters. And the filters of the people in your group. Anybody like to share with me, do they know what filters are? Anybody like to? Yes, the lady.
Based on your past experiences, your knowledge, it drives your perception and what you filter in.
Beautiful. High five. Okay, virtual high five, right? She's looking at me, why is he doing that? So, filters. What are your filters and what are your group's filters? How are you looking at things? These three geniuses back there, okay? They may not always agree because even though they've got the same 10 facts in front of them and they're thinking logically, they may not see the same facts the same way. They have different filters. What are the different kinds of filters? The lady in the back mentioned a few. Can you think of some things that affect your view of the world? and the facts. And I'd like you to, as people come up with ideas, consider jotting them down, because I think this is one of the most important things for us to understand other people's filters, so you can influence them better and understand how they perceive things, and understand your filters as well. I'm sorry, go ahead. Prejudices, prejudgments, gender prejudge, racial prejudgment. So jot that down. Any other ideas? Yes, sir.
We tend to accept data that supports our own views, and we reject data that does not support our views.
In a word,
So we
what would you say?
select.
Selective. Yes, selective. Very good. And anything else? Yeah. Value system. Yeah, value systems very much connect with cultures too, not just ethnic cultures, but corporate cultures. Yeah.
Personal agenda.
Oh, come on.
I want that promotion.
I can't believe that, right? Your personal agenda, and there's no such thing as organizational silos, right? You don't have that, right? So there's organization. Yes, sir.
Like traditions or past precedent?
Yes, precedents. I mean, there's legal precedents, but just past experience. Okay, and then one of the examples I use is, what if this gentleman here, he's a relatively nice guy, I think. Some people would say, right? Before he came to this session this morning, he looked at his lottery ticket, and he'd won $300 million. And he still showed up, right? But he's not hearing anything, right? He's really thinking about that. So past experience, recent experience, which is this $300 million, or past experience with an individual or with a group or with a company, right? Thank you. Yes, sir.
Also your cultural, like your upbringing and
Yes.
your physical background have
Yeah.
a lot of filters that are
Yeah.
already in your notion that you don't even realize
Yes.
that you have. It's as you grow older and more experiences come to you, those filters kind of slightly go away or get more
Or
tuned.
at least, you know what, I'm not sure. Sometimes they just don't go away, but sometimes you just have to be aware of them. You know, religion, ethnic, origin, all those things. And I know you had something. Go ahead.
Age groups?
You want to step outside, man? Is that the gray hair again? Is that what you're thinking? No, right. You know what? Gender makes age makes a difference. One of the keynotes I did was in the United States was how to get along with different age groups, different ethnic backgrounds. And there is actually different value systems that different age groups have, and that's worth, it's not being prejudiced, but, if somebody is I think they call them matures, if somebody is like 80, not me, all right, somebody's 80, they've lived through the Great Depression, they've lived through some world wars, they have different set of beliefs and values. Just a couple more before we have a break. Yes, sir.
I'm thinking like health.
Yes, health makes a difference, right? And again,
It's like personal agenda maybe because I'm not feeling well.
you're not feeling well, you feel a little poorly, it affects how you perceive things. And there's a gentleman back there.
I think also it depends on our prejudgment in some way of the sources. Some sources we accept as authoritative and critically accept
Yes.
that from them with data.
Wonderful points. And we're covering a lot of the topics that I can take a little bit less time on later. Groupthink. Anybody know what groupthink is? Jot that down. Groupthink and what this gentleman said, filters and your sources. Groupthink is where, do you know what groupthink is?
No, it's okay.
Oh, so groupthink is where a family is a group, or there's a group in your corporate environment, and it's not so much using logic to make the right decision. You're making a decision because, as this gentleman said, the source of the other people's ideas. You're more interested in making sure that you preserve the relationship with these people than making the right decision. Just a couple more, yeah?
What about outcomes or conclusions, where you know the decisions you're going to make, and you understand that what the consequences are?
Consequences affect, your decision. So, the higher the risk, the more likely, it's going to affect how you make judgments. And that has to do with risk appetite. A lot of good participation here. No, I just want to give a couple more. Yes, sir.
Fear of
Really? Occasionally, right? Yeah, often, yeah. Now, I'm a big fan of change, but not everybody is. And it also relates, again, to, I mean, it doesn't necessarily relate to intelligence. There's a gentleman that our family knows who's a PhD in nuclear physics, worked for Hydro. And what he was proudest of when he retired, he says, you know, Harry, I was really, really proud that I sat in the same desk, in the same office for 25 years. Oh. Yes, sir. Just a minute. Everybody listen, because it's one of the geniuses back there. Okay. Risk tolerance, yeah. Risk appetite. I mean, I jumped out of planes with parachutes, all right? So I'm a big fan. Yes, sir.
I think mass media.
Mass media will affect you, yeah, exactly. So I've got a list of some of the things that you might want to jot down, and then we'll have a quick break. Very, very important when you're making a decision.
No, I was gonna.
Oh, let's add to it. It's making a decision to understand how we're looking at things. What are our filters? And even more important, once you understand your filters, because we all have filters. As a gentleman over here mentioned, you know, you're brought up a certain way, and then you don't quite lose those values and you know, the behaviors. So it affects the way you make decisions.